when we talk about training leaders, the big thing is looking for them. So I've told you, we want to pray over that and ask God to help us find them. Then we want to watch them and see what we can see there. And then I want you to consider with me some of the things that you might find in the Bible. And I'm just going to give you some points to think about. I would avoid all the lazy people. If a guy doesn't have a job and he can't do much, he's just kind of a bum, he probably can't do the ministry either. It's not like the ministry was made for people that couldn't get a regular job and don't do regular jobs. It's just not the way it works. Elijah will go and find Elisha. Now, he's God's man. God's chosen him and God's picked him, which is the same way it's going to work with you. But Elisha was busy when God's man found him. So when you go looking for the guy that you're going to help get into ministry, the guy you're going to train, don't look for the lazy guy. Look for the guy who's working hard. Look for the guy who's working hard. A second thing I would say to you, you want an industrious guy. I mean, you do not want to have to spend the rest of your lives arguing with him by getting up in the morning, showing up on time, doing his job, finishing his work. That just is not what you want to spend your life doing. So look for a hard worker. The second thing I'd say is look for a servant. Look for a guy who doesn't mind doing the little jobs. Moses Moses' man was going to be Joshua. You know all that as well as I know that. But God, you know who Joshua is? He's the guy that carries Moses' luggage. He's the guy that just poured water on the hands of the man of God. He's Moses' helper. He was Moses' runner, Moses' go-to boy. So if you're not looking for a guy who's willing, if a guy's fighting to be somebody big shotty, he probably ought not be in the ministry. And you can move on from him and look for somebody else that might work out to be in the ministry at some time. I don't think that guy's going to have it if that's the condition that he's talking with you about. Then the third one, I would look for somebody who's hungry. When Paul showed up and found Timothy, Timothy had already been saved and led to Christ, but Timothy was already well known in the church as a hard-working, industrious, Bible-knowing, holy man of God. It's not like he was picking up somebody who was of no value and seeing if he could turn him into somebody. He was looking for somebody who really was hungry to serve God and live for God. There's not really a real clear call on old Timothy if you look at the scriptures very much. It's more like he found him and she had a son, and he had a mama and a grandmama, and they trained him in the Bible, and he just says, let's go do the work. And old Timothy gets up and goes to do the work. So I would say look for number one, look for a guy that will work, not a lazy person. Look for a guy that will serve, and look for a guy that's hungry. That's who you're going to want to train. So be very careful. Sometimes we want somebody so badly that we take anything we can get our hands on. That's a big mistake that we all can make. God bless you. Sure love talking to you guys.